All right. Mm, I want to humor you with this short space. I want to humor all of you with this short space. Topic of discussion: how to get whatever you want, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things very quickly, very promptly. We're going to be talking about the means of getting what you want, the ways of achieving whatever you want. That's what people are after, right? In this occult slash esoteric slash Twitter, whatever space you want to call this. That's what people are really after. That's why like 95% of the people engage with the content because they want to derive some sort of advantage or cheat code, which I heavily dislike, right? But since we're here, I'm gonna break it to you. Okay, I'm going to break it to all of you guys how to get whatever you want from life, whenever you want, however you want, whatever you want. It's not a trick. It's not a parlor trick. It's not a trap. I'm literally going to be telling you how to get whatever you want whenever you want. Okay, so listen in. Now, primarily, and I've spoken about this before in the past, why people become interested in the mystical, what I call the mystical. I don't like to call it the occult because the occult has negative connotations, but why people become interested in quote unquote spiritual pursuits is because they want to find some sort of advantage over others. They want to find some sort of advantage over the world, but it's always sort of like hidden behind, the this or that notion or this or that sentiment, and um, you know, I don't know. They either want some sort of emotional shelter, right, an emotional sheltering for their decaying self, or they want some sort of like a sweet talking session for their own ego, right? That's what they want. That's why most people get in there. That's maybe if you look deep enough that you'll understand that's why you in the first place, you know, became interested with esoteric thought, right? There's a very small percentage of people who understand a very simple truth, right? And a very small percentage of people, not because they're special, not because they're smarter than you, not because they work harder. By all means, you will probably end up working harder than them if you're looking for an advantage because you're in a competitive mindset. But because those people have something that is inaccessible to the person who's stricken with awe when it comes to esoteric thought, right? And the person who is stricken with awe is a person who, through desire, is looking, is constantly seeking how to get, a one up, how to get an upper hand over the situation. They don't want to study and learn the situation, they want to get the upper hand on the situation. So I am here, your favorite Uncle Jack. I'm going to tell you how to get the upper hand over any situation. Oh, but how can you say that? How can you say that? Well, stick around and find out, you dumb cheeseburger. But understand a very simple truth. A very simple truth, okay? It's a ridiculously inefficient and ineffective notion to think that through some sort of esoteric occult transmutation you can get results, or faster or better results than 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 what you can get by just moving your goddamn ass. How do you get whatever you want whenever you want? It's simple. It's literally about saying the right things to the right people at the right moment. That's it. You don't need to cast a spell. You don't need to rub some magical ointment on your body. You don't need to communicate to some astral entity to tell you what to do and where to go. All you need to do, let's be real, let's ground ourselves back into the real world. All you need to do is know who to talk to, what to say to them, how to win their sympathies and trust, and you have whatever you want. How do you think people get whatever they want? How do you think business happens behind the scenes? Do you think people shake hands with devils all the time? No, I will go to my friend and I will ask him, "Hey, do you want to make this business? Here's why I'm trustworthy. Let's start this business off." And boom, it happens. So literally, all you want to do, you're in the wrong place, is what I'm trying to tell you. You're in the wrong place if you want to go and find some sort of competitive edge or upper hand in life, financially, materially, however you want to. You're in the wrong goddamn place. You should be in business school, right? Because the process of business is very simple. Shake my hand and do business with me. Why? Because I have a strong handshake. I am a trustworthy, reliable, loyal person who is connected through you through this and this and this and this and that means. That's it. You want to get whatever you want? You're not going to sit around a Ouija board asking a spirit on how to do it. Just go to your friend, ask him to make a business with you. That's how you get what you want, right? This whole thing even is far from the greatest grift one can do. It's far from it. You can make tenfolds, hundredfolds, thousandfolds more financial, I don't know, like winnings by opening I don't know, like a breadbasket business, right? So you're in the wrong place. I see this all the time. How do I improve this? How do I make people believe me more? How do I convince? You don't need to convince anyone. Just become the person that is worthy of doing business with this or that entity or other person. How to get whatever you want, if you boil it down to its utmost simple, you know, behaviors, it's literally going to some place, saying a few words, signing a contract, and that's it. You've gotten whatever you wanted. Now it's all about learning where to go, doing the research, who to talk to, what to create a sort of expectation for both parties. Well, what do you get out of it? What do I get out of it? It's about communication. That's literally all there is. You don't need to like you don't need falling stars from the sky. You don't. You don't need to make you don't need handshakes behind the scenes with some astral entity that might or might not exist. You don't know if they exist. Only a select few do. You have no idea. So you're banking on something that in your world, in your mind, doesn't even exist. Probably your understanding of it is not primed, so to speak. You don't know symbolically, allegorically what you're dealing with. So now you're just shooting an arrow in the dark, right? And it's a bent arrow, and your bow string is broken or something. Like that's the best comparison I can give you. Why do people love hunting for some sort of power or advantage or competitive edge? Because this is the culture we have created. Well, not we, as in that sense. Mainstream media. Where does mainstream media come from? From the West, right? Particularly the United States nowadays, because the culture they've created is all about money and competitive edge. And those same people will tell you, if you wanted to be a businessman, right? If spiritual pursuit for the sake of truth doesn't mean anything to you, right? Go and do business, my friend. I have many friends who are successful businessmen, and they are far well off than the best of the best in this business. Far well off. What is the point of esoteric and occult study and so on and so forth? What is the point of you deep diving into these very specific niche skill sets if by the end, if the light at the end of your tunnel is not penitence and self-recovery and spiritual progress? Just tell me. It doesn't exist. You are by by objective definition, let's say not a fool, but definitely someone who really needs to work on their efficiency game. Your effectiveness is invalid. It doesn't exist. So, okay, back to how to get whatever you want, because the questions might arise. Well, like, how do I know who to talk to? And da da da. How to get whatever you want. First, you have to be sure that you actually want it. Same thing, same issues, spiritual circles. People come into esoteric fields, they come into mysticism thinking they want something, but then they discover over a period of time that they don't actually want it. I don't want to be spiritually advanced. I don't want to be high conscious because that means being ultimately responsible for every single thing that happens to me and has ever happened to me and will happen to me in the future. It means carrying the heavy burden of responsibility for self and maybe responsibility for others as well. So they come into this space and then they realize, whoa, 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 this is the truth. No, 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 no. I would rather deceive myself, right? I don't want to be responsible for everything I do. I need the illusion of needing to blame someone else for my shortcomings. I need the illusion of blaming some other external factors for whatever I attract. So they backpedal. They go back. But their ego also won't allow them to admit this, right? So then they turn to other things. They like mix and match and they twist and turn and you know, all of the mental gymnastics your ego loves to do to you, right? You twist and turn and you come up with some other, joke of a story that you'll convince yourself is true. And how does the weak man convince himself? By convincing others. Ooh, so now you've not only dug a hole of irreparable damage and unsuccessful business making for yourself, now you're also dragging others into it because you're miserable there alone. And misery loves company. So let's get real. Let's get real. If you want to get whatever you want, it's as simple as a singular conversation behind closed doors at the right moment with the right people. If I want something from okay, like look at it this way. If I want someone to like me, if there's a girl that I like and I want them to like me, right? That's what I want. I can go and pay someone $1,000 to put a love spell on them. Me being an initiate in these arts, firstly, I don't know what I'm doing. Then I don't know what they're doing. I don't even know if it works or not. I'm just sort of like stuck in the middle ground, the limbo space belief type of type of place, and I'm hoping that it'll work, right? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I've spent $1,000. I've spent a lot of energy. I've invested a lot of time, risk, stress, nerves into it. Where I could have just become a person who is worthy of being liked and approach this girl and won her sympathies. So that's what most of you are doing. That's what most of you are doing. You're casting spells, or what you think are spells, when all you have to be doing is showing your desire and your worthiness. Do you want to make $1 million? If I ask any person on the street, do you want to make $1 million? Right? They'll say yes, because they'll think I'm asking. What I'm really asking them is, do you want $1 million? But that wasn't the question. The question was, do you want to make $1 million? Do you think I want to make $1 million? Could I use $1 million if I had it in my pocket right now? Yeah, I could. I could use it for many things that would make me happy and charitable work and so on and so forth and personal gain. But do I want to make $1 million? Well, it's evident that I don't, because if I did want to make $1 million, I would have. So you'll get what you really, really want anyway, because you will be filled with enthusiasm to pursue it, right? Think about it in this simplistic manner. Okay, I'm trying to teach you something here. You think you've heard this before, but I guarantee you haven't. I'm trying to teach you something. This is neo thought. This just entered the collective stream of consciousness, right? That's what you want. You want to derive the most updated, up to date info on the mystical, esoteric truths. Well, this is it. Enthusiasm equals destiny equals guarantee. Whatever you're enthusiastic about, it's only a matter of time that you achieve it. That's how it works. But the problem is, again, am I enthusiastic about having $1 million? Yes. Am I enthusiastic about making $1 million? From where I stand today, what my starting point is, what is the easiest way? And in a quantum sense, the universe knows. The cosmic forces that be, they know what is the most efficient way to make for me to make $1 million. So the moment I ask for $1 million, do you know what they'll give me? They'll give me all of the trials and tribulations and hardships and difficulties and disappointments and heartbreaks that I need to equip myself with in order to become the person that is capable of making $1 million. Do I really want that? Evidently, I don't. Right? Evidently, I don't. Do I have $1 million? No, I don't. So that means I don't want it. I'm not enthusiastic about making the $1 million. What I have been enthusiastic about, I have without an issue. It comes smooth as a knife through butter. That's how smoothly I get it. And that's how smoothly you get it. And I know deep down in your heart that you also know this. That everything you've really actually wanted, you've got. Sometimes you think you want something, like sometimes you think you want a job. It sounds very exciting, but then you read the job description and the contract agreements, and you're like, I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to sign up for. So from your unique vantage point, wherever you're standing right now, right? Some things are easily some fruit is easily grabbed, while others require you to climb 100 trees and 100 branches and fall over and get bruises and scratches and rips and tears all over your body and your clothes. Are you willing to do that? I'm not willing to do it, right? And there is no shortcut. There is no such thing as a cheat code. There is no shortcut to this. And I'll tell you why. Okay? you make you make a contract, you make a deal. Why do people make deals with the devil, so to speak, right? Let's allegorically speaking. Why do they want the deal? Because they think they're taking a shortcut, when in truth they're making a deal to receive something they never even wanted. If they truly wanted it, they would have had it all along, and they're miserable for it because their lesser mind, somehow the externals has somehow convinced them that this is what you want, Billy. Don't you want to be a gangbanger, gangster rapper who has his teeth clad in gold? You want all these cars? You want this and this? You don't really want it. If you really wanted that, you would be so filled with divine, sacred enthusiasm, inspiration, godly inspiration, that nothing, no force in this world could ever stop you from achieving that. Nothing. If you really, really enthusiastically wanted it. So yes, contrary to popular belief, those who want it the most get it the most. What do fighters say when you have like two fighters fighting for a championship? They never say like, "Oh well, he has really good skills, and the other guy also has really good skills, so we don't know who's gonna win." What do the coaches and the fighters say about championship fights? Every single time they say, "Well, it's a battle of wills. Whoever wants it most will probably win. Whoever wants it most will probably get the nod from the judges. They'll probably win the decision." It's a want thing. So deep down, everyone knows it's a want thing, right? Unless you want to be inefficient, unless you have some sort of self destructive program, right? That that somehow enables you to go through the experience of being an incredibly ineffective well operator, right? So read into that a little bit. Just understand, because I get that so much. Well, how do I fix my physiognomy in a sense where people will trust me more? How about you just become more trustworthy, and your physiognomy will follow? Why do you want to reverse engineer the thing that you can attain with a single change of thought? Why do you want to externally reverse engineer something that you can literally turn a lever in your brain and it will immediately show? How do I, learn of all these astrological and all these formulaic sciences that will tell me like where my strength is and where my weaknesses are? Screw your strengths, screw your weaknesses. They're all given and granted to you for a reason. And you intuitively know what that reason is, and you will end up using those anyway if you can just allow yourself to become enthusiastic. Again, enthusiasm defines your objective destiny, right? What Show me what someone is enthusiastic about, and I will tell you where they will be in 5 years from now. It's so easy, it's so simple. And if you find yourself not being enthusiastic about anything, that just means you've been trying to reverse engineer it. You've been filling your head with all kinds of garbage and trash and dirt. Mysticism is not for a competitive edge. You're not here to get a competitive edge. You are here for self recovery. You're here for penitence. That's why you're here. That's why most people are not here, but that's why you're here. That's why you can tolerate hearing this message without wanting to leave this space at once, because it terrifies you to your goddamn core to hear it, to be able to become responsible for your own being fully in its wholeness. Who cares? Who cares? Oh, I speak to spirits and entities. Who cares? No one cares. What are you achieving by doing so? Nothing. You think you're achieving something because the theatrics are there. Oh, it's the big red curtains and all the nice music and jazz playing in the background. How is hell or anything that's hellish or sort of like a cult or sort of like dark occult or whatever like depicted? It's always depicted as like this show, this grand theater with musicians and masks and all kind of dwarves and very tall people and very short people and da. This is for you to forget. The show is for you to forget that you're being screwed over, my friend. The deal is bad. You're exchanging nothing for nothing. You're exchanging your time, your energy, your soul, your life essence, your attention, your focus, your gifts, your potential. You're exchanging that for a bad deal. You're exchanging that for something that someone else from the external convinced you that you want. But here I am telling you, right? Whoever the hell I am, let's say I'm a friend, a distant friend that you've never met. I am here telling you, if you really wanted someone or something, you would have already had it because you would have gained divine approval. What is divine approval? It is the birth of the spirit of enthusiasm within you. That is divine approval. Divine approval grants you more energy, an endless, limitless supply of energy to achieve whatever you truly, deeply desire and want to achieve. If you're not enthusiastic, then you haven't earned it or you haven't envisioned it. Why do I say that the most important thing for a young practitioner or apprentice or acolyte to develop in the mystical arts is vision. Why is there another eye outside of the twin that you were given? Because there is an imaginative function, that is, imaginative layer to your thoughts. This is why we do the kaleidoscope meditation, because secretly we are training our vision, our ability to envision with the utmost accuracy what we want, how these situations will unfold. If you can envision yourself in different or in a variety of different situations, you then, through the compass of your emotions, will understand whether you really want that or not. So if you'll be able to say, well, I don't want that, I want something else, I don't want it to be this way, I want it to be that way, you need to be able to envision it. You need to be able to see it in your mind. That's the trick, right? And the only trick that works, and the only trick that's worth doing. That's why you meditate, right? That's why you would enter the meditative state. That is why you have vision dreams. That is why you can envision these things, because you need to first explore them in your imaginative mind to first align yourself with your desires. Do I really want this or not? What does this look like? Now, in higher realms, what we would call the angelic realms, when imagination and imaginative input is directly connected to the materialization of said imaginations, right? You would destroy yourself. You would not be able to exist in that world, because your vision, or whatever you envisioned, firstly, is flawed. Secondly, it has to be just an exploratory element right now. You have to be able to explore who you are, what you want, what you represent, what you wish to see in this world, because you're here through your imaginative function being trained to be a creator. But if you created everything you imagined right now, right? And I have such a strong grip on your imagination, and you have such a strong grip over mine, I can just tell you a few words, and your imagination will immediately go and jump to whatever imagery that invokes within you, right? You're volatile. You're not a good creator. So first you have to understand what you really want and who you really are. How can you get whatever you want if you don't even know what you want? And I'm telling you, the law of this world works in this simplistic manner, where whatever you want will be given to you regardless, through the gift of enthusiasm. What is enthusiasm? Can you define that in like an emotional sense, in like a hormonal sense? Can you define what that is? Like when you feel like when have you ever been sick, but you really wanted to watch this movie, or you really wanted to watch this cartoon, or you really wanted to play that video game? You were so enthusiastic, you didn't care whether you were sick or not. You still did it, and the sickness or the illness just dissipated, right? While you were doing it, because you were given this additional added energy, right? Your behaviors were illogical to the computing system of the three-dimensional reality, right? It makes no sense. You are sick and you have an illness. You're supposed to be tired, but then you are also emboldened and empowered with such enthusiasm and fervor for life that you go against the grain, so to speak. You go against the logical implication of the sickness at hand. So yes, there are forces that can not only overlap but supersede the external, right? And it's a gift. It's not like enthusiasm. You can summon up enthusiasm at any moment to do something. No, 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 no. We must name the sources and the channels of all of these energies that we receive. And keep in mind, enthusiasm is a source of energy that is highly underrated and is never talked about anywhere. You won't find it in your spiritual guru's guidebook or textbook. They'll tell you all the things that waste your time instead. Oh, sit down and meditate and connect with the prana or whatever it is, right? Like connect with the earth and feel the heartbeat. What about your own heartbeat? What about what your heart wants? When was the last time you were enthusiastic about something? And tell me with a straight face, if you so dare, that you were enthusiastic about something and you did it and it wasn't a great time and you didn't get everything you thought you would get out of it. Impossible. You won't be able to come up with an example like that. Maybe somewhere along the line you became unworthy and lost the enthusiasm. Maybe. But flow state, right, is achieved through the practice of enthusiasm. If you don't know which doors you need to go through, right? Which short and narrow path to take to achieve your truest wants and desires. If you don't know, how do you know? If all, like we said, you remember the example of the hallway where all of the doors look like the same door, and there's even a scene like that in the Matrix. How do you know where to go? Well, you can number the doors and you can do guesswork, or you can just follow your intuition. What the hell is your intuition? You can follow your enthusiasm. You can follow your emotional input and output. So you're already given the compass for these things. You already have the cheat code, right? You cannot slay a god, but you can make him forget that he is God. You can have a god in the form of the god child, and you can convince the child that they are not godly at all, that they are mediocre and average. So how do you stop a god? It's by forcing them to forget of their godly nature and to underestimate that godly nature as some sort of rambling or psychotic breakdown or whatever. There's big wisdom, there's great wisdom in this, right? So you ask me, well, how do I get this? You don't need the shortcut, dummy. You are the shortcut. You are the shortcut. All you have to do is understand where your enthusiasm lies. Do what you're inspired to do. Support those who support you. Those hints are always given to you. And learn to envision. Again, this is why the most, in my mind, from my learning, the most effective and the most efficient and the most grandiose form of meditation is to allow yourself to imagine the highest form of beauty that you can. Because the highest form of beauty that you can, first, it will be personal. Let's say you practice this 15 minutes a day, it will be personal. Then it will become impersonal. And after it has become impersonal, it will become all encompassing. So the most beautiful thing you can imagine changes because your consciousness increases and your ability for vision, your ability to envision that which you truly wish to achieve and where you truly wish to go must be clearly defined. It becomes clearly defined. You attain a sort of clarity. And then you gain an enthusiasm to achieve that state that you can envision. And guess what happens in between? Guess what happens in between? Where is the magician born? Where is the mystic born? Where is the bridging between these two, one imaginative realm somewhere in the quantum field, the primordial pool of all infinite possibilities, the astral mind, and you currently who reside in this body, your current consciousness? What happens in between, right? You do the things that get you closer to that final vision. And you know where to go, you know what to say, you know what you need to do, you know how to get there. You just know. How? Because you know where you're going exactly. You know it like you know your own 5 fingers on each hand. So you know that the right thing to do, the correct thing to do, the most effective thing to do is whatever gets you closer to that vision. Because I'll tell you a secret about that vision. It's not just your imagination at work. It's just not you playing with the astral realm of thought. What happens there is you are peering, you are peering into a potential future that over the duration of your journey to that place will start to become your reality. That is the portal, that is the narrow path that one must take to complete their mission. If you know what your deepest desire is, what you are permitted to follow, what you are permitted to see and envision in your mind, you are permitted to follow that. So if you know what that is, you know everything. There's nothing on this world, on this God's green earth, that you don't know. Because within the context of that vision, everything is given context, everything is given sense, right? Everything is illumined and illuminated and enlightened and allegorical and symbolic of everything else that drives you to that final point. That's why it's called the narrow path. Because you think you have a choice. You think you have a choice, but if you are loyal to that vision, that you should also be thankful and grateful for because you were granted it, you were granted the ability of that vision. Well, first you have to earn that vision through practice and self-recovery and self-discovery. But then you must also earnestly follow that vision and make the sacrifices necessary. Now, this is what a lesser mind would perceive as lack of liberty and free will, when the narrow path in truth is just leading you to where you want to go anyway. So, why does the present moment then become important? Why does the present moment then become the default status quo state of awakening and enlightenment, right? Why is the most important thing the present moment? If I already know all of the decisions I'm going to make according to this grander vision that I have been provided, well, firstly, because the vision could change, and secondly, you understand that every part of your journey, each part of your journey, even the ones you don't understand, even the ones that confuse you, right? You don't, it makes no logical sense. How is this getting me to where I want to go? But you have to understand that as long as you keep that vision in your mind, the universe is taking you there. So the present moment is holy, wholeness, right? To be present in the moment, because you know that this mechanic is at play, it's active. So even if you're not having a good time in the present moment, you still are having a good time because you know where you're being taken. So you've borrowed the enthusiasm of the thing that you know you will achieve, right? From the future, you've opened a portal, you've opened a channel, a streamlined energy that invigorates you even during the moments of confusion and temptation and difficulty and blah 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 blah. Right? That's what you get however you want, right? Whatever you want, however you want it, however you want to say it, that's how you can get it. But first, as an apprentice of the art, right, you need to understand the prerequisites, of attainment. The first prerequisite is emotional self-balancing and emotional self-work. And remember what we talked about spiritual awe? The first prerequisite is to go through the state of shock that comes with the spiritual awe of having learned a new thing or learned a new skill or learned a new truth or so on and so forth. That's the first prerequisite. The second prerequisite is a sort of state of not complete and utter fearlessness, so to speak, but your ability to accept and surrender, and to your ability to not question the sanctity of everything that's happening to you. That's number two. You can't always retain this state. Sometimes life happens. It's difficult. Sometimes the theater gets really realistic. You're not expected to always be aligned with this, but you are expected to want to be always aligned with it, right? To try. And then the third prerequisite is the attainment of the intellectual and academic and creative properties that are required to even envision your final destiny, right? To envision this place that you want to go to. I have a very good idea of where I want to go to. I can see it in my mind. It's so real. It's so real that I can almost touch it. It exists for me. And I live as if I live in a world where my final vision already exists. Or I try to sometimes when I don't forget. It's like a vestige, it's like a remnant, it's like a memento. It's there in in the realms of thought, in the fractal realms of thought. It's there, it exists. It's real. Why do I know it's real? Because it gives me energy. It is literally a portal through which I am receiving the channel of enthusiasm. I'm receiving inspiration from it. So how can it not be real? Right? So even now, if it exists as a sort of like a totem piece or a vestige of an image or an idea or a philosophy, the 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 relentless arrival of some sort of higher ideal, I can derive energy from it. Even if it exists in this sort of ethereal limbo state, right? It inspires me to achieve it. Do you know who else was inspired to achieve great feats through their vision? Every great artist, inventor, architect, writer, poet, whoever you know. First, it was the vision, and then it was the alignment with that vision. And at some point of divine inspiration, at some point during their journey to that vision, them realizing that this vision was not created by them, but they were just granted imagery, thought forms, they were granted vision of a higher state of being or a particular state of being to which they now function as a portal to. So they can bring about that realm into ours. They can bring about something from the realm of consciousness that they've aligned themselves with. They can see, and now they can bring that into the material. They will bring the sentient and the conscious into a non conscious world. That is why we're here, partially. We are here to bring consciousness into an unconscious world. So look, it's a nice little message, right? It's nice little advertisement type of thing to like do a spaces and call, well, how to get whatever you want. And you sort of like come in here with like I would have come in here, right? With some sort of selfish, you know, seeking of selfish benefit. But I think I want to give you something more. I want to give you something special. I want to give you something unexpected. I want to put a pretty little pebble in the palm of your hand, right? I want to give you a trick of the mind, a sort of like an angle of consciousness through which you can maneuver this world and operate at your highest efficiency, your highest effectiveness. If you can do that, if you can allow yourself to do that, train over time, you won't need the $1 million. You won't need the fancy cars unless you're enthusiastic about it. If you are, you'll get it. You'll already have it 110%. It's just a matter of time. But for most of us who don't want to go through the trials and tribulations and the toiling that is required of us from our original vantage point, the starting point of our lives, right? For those of us who don't want it, you will go to what you want. What I wanted was to achieve the meaning of life. That cost me 15 years of suffering and torment. Because for me, someone who was on a lesser stream of consciousness, for me to have realigned to the higher stream of consciousness, I had to suffer and near die and go through anguish and torment and pain. I didn't know what I was signing myself up for, right? But it also got me to where I really wanted to go because I genuinely wanted it and I received it. And now that I've received it, I've also received higher inspiration, higher vision, the ability to envision. I'm a bad doer myself. I'm good with in a therapeutic sense with the vernacular and the verbose, right? With word play. I can put you in a mind state that realigns and readjusts, that increases you, that amplifies you, right? But I'm as bad of a doer as you are because I hold the vision and then I serve the vision in a in a mediocre sense, right? I get tempted away from my enthusiastic state. It's also something we need to practice and work on and blah 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 blah. But if you understand the simple truth, everything else, the edginess, the opera singing, which can be wonderful by the way, the the curtains, the levers, the elves, the trolls, and all of these grand theatrics, magic and hidden spells and tomes and incantations, they're going to seem so childish. They're going to seem so small and so insignificant and so useless and so worthless. It's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. You're being walked into a beautiful hotel, and then when you arrive to your room, it's a hole in the ground. That's the comparison one can make, you know? That's the comparison one can make, right? Everyone else sees you in your fancy hotel with your valet and your super sports car, but when you get to your room, it's a dark hole, damp, wet, nasty hole in the ground. So think on that. Why are you here? Why are you even learning these things? Why are you deep diving into mysticism? If it is not for spiritual penitence, if it's not for spiritual truth, if it's not for pursuit of self recovery and self revival and grander vision and increasing the comfort and the joy and the pleasure of the fellow man, why are you even here? What is this advantage that God has already not given you, that you're looking for something external outside of yourself? When the very laws of this world are literally designed to get you to what you want and where you need to go, and whatever is good for your spiritual growth and progress. The only thing that impedes or supersedes your desires as a creator is your soul progress, is your spiritual progress. So don't get disgruntled if you don't find yourself being fully enthusiastic for what you think you want, because in your heart of hearts, what your highest want and your highest desire is, and has always been and will always be, is to reconnect with God, is to reconnect with your higher power, with your higher self. So that desire will never be superseded by any sort of material desire. So if your material desire goes against that higher desire, it will not become manifest. And the moment you know that it doesn't become manifest is where you You accept it, and when you are gracious and humble, and you thank God, and you thank the universe for not giving you the thing that could impede your spiritual progress, right? That's the lesson of it. That's the lesson of it. So after this, right? If you're like, well, I still don't understand what I have to do to get whatever I want, that's okay. Over time, you will, unless you're lying to yourself, which many people would. Many people would, right? Because they still want to be stuck in this dualistic arena of, the push and pull. They're addicted to the push and pull. Like sometimes you get pulled in the mud, but then you get to pull someone else into the mud, right? Sometimes you're black and the other time you're white. Like sometimes you're victorious, but then you're defeated, right? They're addicted to this emotional roller coaster, right? That is provided by the illusion of separating yourself from your destiny, separating your divinity from from the external, and just calling it fortune or luck or gambling or whatever else children's ploy, right? You want to make. And it's fun, and those things can be played around with. I'm not saying I don't do those things. I do. But for the sake of grander wisdom, right? And for the sake of higher learning, do work on making that a priority in your life. So it's a three-step system. We know everything works in threes in that sense, right? Like it's a three-step system. But we also know we spoke about the hidden aspect. If you've been following me for 2+ years, you know what the hidden aspect is. Every third thing has a fourth hidden aspect. Ooh, that's juicy info. But for now, let's say it's a three-step system. Learn to envision, form the vision in your mind. Follow my kaleidoscope meditation method if you want, or do your own thing. Learn to accept and be humble and gracious and graceful. Learn to accept, learn to see the sensible design and the intellectual design of all things. Learn to become responsible and try to have the ability just try, it's very difficult to think in a way where you are responsible for the happenings in your life. Try to have tolerance and open-mindedness towards that idea. And third, right, have the intellectual and the conscious and the academic capacity to be able to formulate beauty in your mind. A lot of people who are naturally smart and intellectually inclined have this, but they don't have the other elements. The people who have the other elements don't have this, right? So they're misaligned with the process, right? They're stuck in this ego loop, right? That we talked about so many times in the past. And how do we know that they're stuck in a ego loop? When you talk to them about ego, they hate it. They become irritable. Their energy shrinks. They hate it. They hate being reminded of their work, right? Okay, we'll stop here. We'll stop here. This is supposed to be a short one. I don't know how I drag all of these on all like for so long, but um, buy my stuff if you want to support me. Buy my stuff. Any stuff. Share the spaces if you like it. If you found benefit from it. If you know people who might also find benefit from it, share it. Like it, follow it, comment something nice, right? Um, yeah, and yeah, give a gift to someone, make them happy. I don't know, just have a good time, right? Try to have a good time. We're going through a difficult moment, right? Humanity is a difficult moment, but yeah, meditate. Don't take it too seriously, but don't take it not seriously either. You don't need me to tell you that. You already know that. All right. Much love to you all. We'll talk later on next spaces. I want to do one spaces about consciousness and UFOs and stuff like this because I'm curious myself. Okay, I met a few people now who have similar ideas to mine, and we can talk on those. We'll do another on Christianity because a lot of people asked me to. We'll do one on that, right? Now I need to get some chow and maybe some coffee, right? So Uncle Jack's energy bar is not what it used to be 10 years ago. So much love to you all. Bye bye.